Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Roberta Glenn. I'll be talking about long-term environmental observations from the Alaska Arctic Observatory and Knowledge Hub. I would first like to thank the AOK observers who made this work possible, Billy Adams and Joe Mello-Levitt in Utqiagvik, Robert Bobby Schaefer in Kotzebue, Stephen Putquatuk in Wainwright, Guy Omnick in Point Hope, and Carla Sims Koyotuk in Koktovik. And I would also like to thank the science lead, Donna Hauser, who's the science lead for AOK, the AOK project, and also my committee advisor. Okay. So before I go any further, I just want to start by saying that I remember coming to NARL many, many times as a young girl. NARL, the institution, and all of the community members and researchers who made it what it is today, they really helped to shape who I am or what I'm interested in and why I care about science in Alaska. My parents would take me out to where folks were presenting or setting up their instruments to collect sea ice, permafrost, and weather data. This photo is from the visitor's log at the NARL 50th anniversary, where my mom signed both of us in. I must have been about 4 or 5 years old then. Ben Jones sent me that picture, and my mom is here today with us in the audience. Paglayipsi, ubangatu, nalog mutun, Roberta Glenn. Akaga ikalin akpik apaga savik Glenn. Ilisaptunga University of Alaska Fairbanks me. So greetings everyone. My name is Roberta Glenn. I'm from Utqiagvik. My mom is Arlene Ikalin Akpik and my dad is Richard Savik Glenn, and I'm a graduate student at the University of Alaska Fairbanks in geography. My thesis was on documenting coastal change and community-based observations in Alaska communities with a focus on developing relevant data products in support of community priorities and adaptation planning. And that's a picture of my mom, and my sisters. Let's see. So the Alaska Arctic Observatory and Knowledge Hub, or AOK, as we call it, it's a collaborative network of local observers and scientists working together to monitor changes in weather, ocean and sea ice, as well as wildlife conditions. This program began as SciZoNet, or the Seasonal Ice Observing Network. And that started in 2006, and I believe Eichen was previously in charge of that. The program has expanded in recent years to bring on new observers. So observers in Kotzebue, Point Hope, Wainwright, Utqiagvik, and Koktovik share near daily reports of weather and environmental conditions. This database is a rich data set of local knowledge with over 8,000 observations since 2006, including many Inupiaq and sea ice terms. And these observations can inform a better understanding of Arctic environmental change and impacts to Arctic residents. So my research objective for AOK was to build an ArcGIS story map to communicate climate change impacts from the perspectives of the local AOK observers. And the reasoning behind this is to try to put a data product that represents the perspectives of Arctic Indigenous people and the impacts that they experience. There's not a lot out there in terms of media that elevates these perspectives. And so this AOK story map is one attempt at doing that. So this is an example of what the observations look like in the database. Observe top. The information is then coded into the database based on what the observer mentions. So here, Billy Adams mentions sea ice related activities, sea ice conditions, weather conditions, and the presence of wildlife. And these are just the steps that I took to build my story map. The AOK steering group, which comprises of representatives from the AOK communities, as well as UAF scientists. They held an annual meeting where observers reflected on some of the recent changes that they see in their communities. And so I took direction from what they were talking about in that meeting, and I went from there. And so I decided I wanted to build a story map that describes impacts to subsistence activities, travel access, and community infrastructure. And basically, I just surveyed the database, followed up with the observers with some one-on-one conversations, and then went out and found some supporting instrumental data. So what do the observations? Well, observations fall into four main themes from the AOK observers: warmer temperatures, changing winds, coastal storms, and sea ice changes. And I'll give everyone here a little snapshot of my story map, but I don't have time to cover all of the themes. So one of the themes was changing winds. Here's an example from Koktovik, where Carla Sims Coyote describes strong winds inhibiting snow accumulation, making travel access difficult in the winter. Oh my gosh, I have to give myself access. Let's see.
Yeah, try maybe not, Greg. You have to gain a little bit of access here.
I can do this. You guys have to listen to these audio clips.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll fill some time. Yeah, I'll give a shout out to a few people here in the room that have been working pretty hard behind the scenes. You know, when you have these little technical glitches. So Jana Pierce here in the front row. Thank you, Jana. Behind the curtains back here, I'm not sure if you guys can hear us back there, but Emily and Bretland, would you come out real quick? Anyway, there's a lot going on back there. Thank you all. And then up top, Chris, Joshua, can you poke your head out? Thank you up there. How you doing, Roberta? Almost?
Almost.
Okay, cool. And then I guess coming back to a comment that Craig George had earlier today, just in terms of how we go about doing our work in the Arctic, you know, it's really 10% science and 90% logistics. It's a very true statement. So having UIC science here to support what we do is really, really critical to A, the success of our science, but B, just our health and safety. So I'll give a shout out in the back to Cody Johnson. And then who else do I see? I see Lindsay Cameron back in the corner. Thank you, Lindsay. Next to Cody is Martin Edwardson. And the guy with the big lens roaming around, Lloyd Peacock, are you still here? Yeah, Lloyd's back in the corner behind Lindsay. And then a few of the other guys that just left, Thomas, Kion Levitt, and then my Atik, Ben Jones, are super instrumental to just the success of our work. So thank you everybody at UIC Science.
Okay, I'll just start this slide again. So one of the themes from the AOK observers was changing winds. And here's an example from Koktovik where Carla Sims Coyote describes strong winds inhibiting snow accumulation, which makes travel access difficult in the winter.
Our tundras have been pretty bare. We'll have a thin layer of snow out on the tundra, but we're still seeing a lot of the grass and the brush from the tundra. It's especially real bad up in the mountains for the hunters. It makes it real hard for them on machines. Sometimes makes it pretty costly for them, especially when they're going up to hunt the sheep.
So another theme was coastal storms, flooding, and erosion. Observers in every community have reported coastal storm impacts. Coastal storms, flooding, and erosion impact critical community infrastructure as well as important cultural use sites. Here, Guy Omnick describes erosion in Tikia.
See, during our summers, we're seeing a lot of erosion. During the last 2 years, I know of one ice cellar that's been lost due to coastal erosion from the north wind. From the north wind waves, took away a whole ice cellar. And we're seeing a lot of erosion on the North Beach from the north wind storms. A lot of mudslides, a lot of permafrost melt.
Another theme was changes in sea ice conditions. Sea ice is an important platform for supporting marine mammals and subsistence activities in each community. It's also a vital platform for travel access between North Slope communities. And here Billy Adams from Witkiavik describes sea ice changes impacting travel on the North Slope Community Winter Access Trails, or CWAT trails. And you guys will have to forgive me. Billy called me one random Wednesday morning and I was not prepared for a conversation. And so I was typing notes out as I was listening to him. So you might hear a little bit of typing, but.
Like the CWAT trail, you know, that trail that goes to Barrow to Prudhoe Bay to Untuxukin to Wainwright. You know, they just started that not too long ago, but the planners who make the ice trails, you know, they really have to plan a lot sooner. Some of the freight haulers, like the local people like Kulip, Pepley, and Arnie Erie, you know, they used to go over the ocean a lot sooner, like in late in December, January. But they've been, you know, they've been hugging the coastline because the ice has been not really set in. The ice opens and closes, it makes tide cracks and those kind of things that the freight haulers are worried about. And I think it's happened more often now is that those more and more cracks, but they wait till January and to February where it's a little safer. So that adjustment has shifted a lot for the travel, but a lot of people are very happy about being able to get groceries from Barrow or from driving to Fairbanks, and now it's
another section in my story map that I haven't mentioned here yet is this one on subsistence change. Observers in each community report changes to their subsistence calendars, having to go out earlier and strong variation in year-to-year conditions. And these are all impacting their subsistence activities. However, the observation shown does not communicate those changes. I received feedback on my story map from Billy Adams. He told me to include something positive, to reiterate that despite these rapid environmental changes, communities are still able to go out and harvest animals. And so I included this observation here from Bobby Schaefer, where he describes plentiful caribou, fish, and herring around Kotzebue and Kotzebue Sound. And so I added this section as a direct result of AOK feedback from AOK observers. So I thought I would include that here too. If you want to learn more about AOK, you can email Donna Hauser, who is the science lead. My email is listed here too. Or you can check out the AOK Facebook page, which is our primary means of outreach and data sharing. And that concludes my presentation on one example of long-term environmental observations on the North Slope.